For those of you who don't know me, my name is Corey Fabian Bornstein, and I am the Public Programs Coordinator here at the NHA. It is, as always, my pleasure to welcome you to our weekly Food for Thought lecture series, today with David Handy of DMH Events. As always, I want to take a moment to thank you for supporting this free community program. It happens every week in the autumn and spring. It's made possible in part by the MS Worthington Foundation and receives media sponsorship from Novation Media. And Novation does an amazing job of filming every single one of these lectures and posting them on the NHA's YouTube page. So if you've missed any installments or you want to go back and pick up some more details, you can catch up at youtube.com/Nantucket History. Before we get started, if you could just take a moment to silence or otherwise turn off your cell phone, that would be very helpful so it doesn't disrupt the presentation. And while you're doing that, we have a couple of announcements today. First of all, we have a very special Friday edition of Food for Thought happening this week. So it's tomorrow, March 27th, right here at noon, same time, and it's going to be a rescheduled version of the oral history program, Food for Thought, that we had to cancel because of a blizzard earlier in the season. So a special Friday edition with Betsy and Jacob right here tomorrow. So hopefully I'll see all of you again tomorrow at that one. If you want more info, it's right here on the piano. The second thing, as many of you may also be aware, our brand new Treasures from the Vault Still Life Sketching at Greater Light program is wrapping up this Saturday, March 28th from 10 to noon. It's an amazing program we've been doing in collaboration with the Artist Association, and it gives you an incredible opportunity to get into Greater Light and enjoy the space in the off season, get in touch with your creative side, get closer to artifacts. It's a wonderful, wonderful program. So if you're interested, you can still register. You can either grab me right after this, or you can go online to nha.org/tickets if you're interested. More information will also be on the piano. So those announcements aside, it is my pleasure to introduce today's speaker. David Handy is an established, dynamic, and trend-setting event designer. For over a decade, he has cultivated a unique style that has consistently surpassed his clients' expectations. His extensive background and experience in concept development and his vast knowledge of techniques allow him to showcase the ultimate in design while serving his varied clientele. David is the founder of DMH Events, as well as an instructor at the renowned Flower School of New York, and I just learned before this, the Community School, where he also does flower arrangements. In addition to designing and planning private events, David also collaborates with many nonprofit entities throughout Boston, New York, Palm Beach, and here on Nantucket. DMH Events and David's work has been featured in top industry publications such as Southern New England Weddings, Simply Elegant Platinum Wedding New England, and Bliss Celebrations. His work is also a favorite pick on many popular wedding blogs, including The Knot, Style Me Pretty, Wedding Wire, and Well Wed. Recently, David expanded here to Nantucket with existing locations already in New York and Boston. So please join me in welcoming David Handy.
Thank you for the introduction. Thanks everyone for coming today, and this is supposed to be, and it will be, a very fun and engaging brown bag series on entertaining at home and as well as in events. So if anyone has any questions as we're going along, please feel free just to yell them out, raise your hand, whatever you want, and let's get started. So just a little bit of what we do is we're a full event design and planning company. We work with our clients basically in different capacities, from the conceptual level of designing and planning the event all the way to the execution of your event, day of planning, all of that. We work with wedding clients, corporate clients, as well as nonprofit clients. So when we're planning an event, and I consider an event a dinner at home or an event for 250 people as a fundraiser. So whenever we're doing something like that in our own home, I try to follow some of these tips to make sure that all of our guests have a good time, but as well as making sure that myself or you as the host is having a good time. There's nothing worse than hosting a party, whether it be, like I said, 250 people or 10 people at your home, and you're running around and be able to enjoy all of your guests and enjoy the night that you've planned for everyone. So, like I said, anyone has any questions? We will be able to get started. The first topic I want to talk about is mixing, matching your friends. When we're planning an event and or a dinner party, I like to really break up the guest list. We all have our circle of friends. We all go here together, and we all do this together. Something that is fun and different for a lot of people is really incorporating different circles and different mixes of people into your dinner party or event. So, okay, sorry. When we're inviting our guests and our friends to our parties, we want to make sure that they know that they're coming to something very fun, very relaxing, but most importantly, something that we're all going to spend time together. Um, with that guest list, we make sure that we take in consideration some of our friends that we might not see that often, even though that they don't live near you or close to you. Surprisingly, a lot of people make the trip for the weekend, especially if it's an event here on Nantucket or a dinner party. People will really try to make it for your party. So I want to kind of start with that. Um, Mixing and matching friends. A friend of mine said, well, I'm having a dinner party and we're going to invite all couples. I don't necessarily know that that's what you need to do. I think mixing and matching your friends, inviting singles, inviting couples, and integrating that group will expand your friendship. And you'll get to know other people better, get to know their likes or dislikes, and then just become more of a friends with everyone that you're inviting into your party. Something if you're hosting a more formal dinner party and it is a seated dinner, and people either love this idea or people hate this idea. And there's really no right or wrong answer for this, but when I host a dinner party at our home, I like to split out all the couples up. So who you're coming with, you're not sitting next to at dinner. This, I find, makes it easier for people to get to know each other better. You're sitting with someone at a dinner table, 3 courses for an hour, hour and a half. You're getting to know people, but you're also building that band of friendships with people that you might not otherwise know if you're at a cocktail party where people tend to mix into their own circles. This way you're forcing people to basically kind of step outside the box a little bit, meet new people, and spend some time with people over a great meal. Any questions so far on anything? The next part of it I want to talk about is the invitation and timing of an event. There are a lot of different ways that we can send invitations out. There are a lot of different ways that we can get responses back. And it really depends on how formal or informal your event is going to be. We work with different clients on a corporate level, a social and nonprofit level, but also a home entertaining level. Many of our clients we have done their weddings of their daughters or their sons, and they'll bring us in to do their backyard barbecues, their dinners at their homes, and we really talk with our clients to get a feel and an understanding of what they want to accomplish at this dinner, in the field that they really want to showcase during this dinner. And that really starts with the invitation. Obviously, the more formally invitation or more formally invite, the more formally invitation. Something a little more casual, the more casual invitation. So, I just said that. I like to incorporate the theme or the concept into the invitation. This, whether a dinner party for 20 or a backyard barbecue for 100, this will really set the tone for the event that you're hosting. We've done events in backyards and in private homes where we've come up with a concept or a theme where it might be a beach barbecue. It could be your Red Sox theme or Red Sox concept or sporting concept. Daffodil, we do a big daffodil event, so we do a big concept for that. This setting the tone for all of your guests will allow them kind of to know how to plan for their event, how to dress for the event, and basically some of the overall details of the event, especially if they're bringing something. I know a lot of people will like to bring some type of a great wine, vodka, liquor, whatever it might be. This will give them a better idea of what they can bring in and how casual or how formal they should, what they're going to bring. On the invitation, and this just happened actually about a month and a half ago, we got an invitation to someone's dinner party, and it was off island. And it had the date and the time, and this was a newer friend for ours. There was no address on the, and it was basically a white card. Please join us on this day. We look forward to seeing you. There's no RSVP date. There was no response number, and this person just assumed that we all knew all this person's contact information, where they lived, and all of that. So it, it, it makes it a little more difficult for the person receiving the invitation. Now, then you have to reach out to the person hosting the event. Great, I've never been to your house. What's the address? What should I bring? What should I wear? Type of thing. So I think the more information that you can include on the invitation, it just really makes for a much better and seamless planning on your end as the host. Typically, when we're doing a dinner party or an event at our house, we like guest arrival between 6 and 7. That gives you enough time to have cocktails, have an hors d'oeuvre hour, and just really get to mingle and people get to know each other before they sit down for dinner if it's a seated dinner. If it's not a seated dinner, I like I said, same thing, between 6 and 7 to start the event itself of the party. Again, giving people time to mix and mingle, and then opening up your food stations, your hors d'oeuvre stations, whatever it might be. But again, just giving people enough time that they can really get to know each other, have a beverage, have some bubbles, and just loosen up just a little bit so they feel more comfortable when it comes time for that dinner portion. I always love to include an RSVP on all of my invitations, whether it's a dinner party for 20 people or an event for 250 people. This is giving you as the host a much better lead time in what to expect. We've all been there where we're having a dinner party and you send an invitation out and there's no RSVP on it. All of a sudden, Joe and Nancy and Alan say they're all coming, but you never hear from 6 other people. The night of the event, all of a sudden, those 6 other people show up to the event that you haven't really heard from. Giving an RSVP date would then put the responsibility in the person you're inviting's lap, where they have to get back to you on when they're coming, whether they're coming or not coming. Again, making this much easier on you as the person hosting the event. And we usually do 7 days for an RSVP, especially for something like a dinner party. If you're doing an event, a wedding, birthday, bar mitzvah, whatever it might be, we usually like to give 3 weeks to a month RSVP for something like that. When more things are involved, you're talking rental companies, you're talking caterers, you're talking all of that type of stuff. I always love to state the attire on the invitation. We were actually just invited to a dinner party a few weeks ago, and on the invitation, it said casual. The word casual was on there, and it was great because we knew that going to the party, what the event was going to be like, kind of what we were going into and what we were expecting. And again, this can work if you're doing a themed event. During the holidays and the off season here, many of our friends have hosted parties and theme parties, 70s night, all that type of stuff. This would be a great place to locate all those details for all of that type of stuff. Something that I like to use in a lot of our events, depending upon how formal or informal the event is Paperless Post. Paperless Post is an online invitation platform. So they have 2 options. There's one option where you can actually send out paper invitations to the company, as well as send out an email version of the invitation. Here, you can really tailor your invitation to the concept or the theme of your event, as well as including RSVPs, dates, including guest names, as well as including sections and spots on this list where you might be having a potluck dinner or a potluck event where you can put a list of, Jenny's going to bring the beans and the wine, exactly. And this way you can create a list of who's coming, what they're bringing, and who their guest is going to be. Especially if it's a seated dinner and you're doing something like this and you are doing place cards, you don't have to have a card that says guest. It is, it's David and Donald or whoever it's going to be. Any questions so far on invitations or, yes? I agree with you 125%. It's hard. If we do a lot of weddings, and usually what happens when we have their RSVP date, our clients are making phone calls to probably 20% of the guests that have not RSVP'd to an event, to their wedding, I should say. So something that we do in advance, we like to give a longer RSVP date, so that way, if we go past that time, we always follow up with them. That's really the only way to do something like that. We've done some nonprofits where if you RSVP or buy a ticket by a certain date, you get some type of discount or referral or something like that. But for the most part, it's not at a wedding. No, 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 no. But I'm saying for a fundraiser or a corp. Yeah, exactly. The earlier you RSVP, the closer you get to the bride and groom. but um, but it's really just following up and making that phone call. And we do a lot of different events, and we did an event over the holidays, and it was sending that email reminder out. You have one more week to respond. Space is limited if it's a corporate event or a nonprofit event. With a wedding, we always tell our clients, it's usually the parents of the bride and groom that we like to spread the word through them, because they typically are the ones that see all the family. So, oh, did you RSVP yet? Don't forget to RSVP. The deadline is next week. So you're kind of putting the bug into everyone's ear. I know for me, because I do this for a living, when I get a response card or an RSVP card, it's in the mail instantly, whether it be web-based or whether it be a hard copy.
That brought up a thought to me. Thank you. That if I was going to do an event and I'm expecting, hoping for 50, but how would I know if it went up to 100? And it's an event and it's a nonprofit, so it's the money. I mean, it's the food that I would be most concerned about, having enough for everybody and not overbuying and taking away from the funds that are being made through them buying the ticket to attend. So how do you gauge that, or do you have a limit?
When it comes to food and beverage and something like this, especially a nonprofit, because like you said, you don't want to pay food for 100 people and then 50 people show up. For something like that, we always like to put a deadline. You buy your tickets by this point or RSVP by this point, because working with typically any caterers, you can always go up in terms of the guest count. And for that, we like to stay in close contact with our caterers or our people providing all our beverages, where we touch base with our catering company a month before the event is taking place and saying that, I know we've estimated 50 people, but we're up to 60 people. And usually the week before the event, we touch base with our catering company again and say, okay, right now we've sold 100 tickets, so we need to increase our food up to 100. Something that can't happen is the reverse. So if you order food for 100 people, you're not typically able to call a catering company a week before and say, I was only kidding, I only need it for 50 people. Especially for a nonprofit, I always like to, and the catering companies will shoot me, but I always like to underestimate our food in the beginning of our conversation, because it's always a better problem to go up and increase the food with the caterer versus decrease the food. And the same thing I would say goes for the beverage service as well. If you supply wine and beer for 50 people, all of a sudden 100 people show up, that's where it gets a little dicey. But I think that can be the same thing, and if I'm correct. Exactly. True. Yeah, for something like that, it's especially beer and wine and in terms of beverage service, you never want to run out of that.
You could return beer and wine.
You can.
Thank you.
Yeah, with most places, as long as the wine or the champagne is not chilled and it's not opened, you can return it. Correct? Yeah, most places do allow that, which is great. And then just one more thing about the food is, when you're working with a nonprofit like this, coming up with a menu and working with your chef, a lot of people will say, we want to have X, Y, and Z on our menu. Sometimes what I think is better, especially for a nonprofit, a wedding is a little different, but being a nonprofit, going to the caterer and saying, this is our budget, what can you do for us? Because that way, might be able to, they might have 2 events going on that day as well. So if they're able to piggyback off of something else, they're able to give you a better product at a more reasonable price, because instead of making 50 for your event, they're making 200 because they're using it at another event as well. And that's one of the ways I think to save in terms of that. Great. Any other questions so far? Great. These are great questions. Fantastic. And then just the one more thing about the paperless post is, I said there's a lot of different options for this program itself: paid options, free options, holiday card options. When you receive a paperless post, and I'm sure many of you probably have used it or have seen paperless posts come through your email before, it's a nice product. It looks very much like a actual printed invitation would if you were holding it. For something like this, there are other options out there. I get invitations on Facebook all the time, and I get invitations on all these other companies out there. But for something like this, whether being nonprofit, not necessarily a wedding, but for being a nonprofit or a dinner party, I think this is the best way to go. You're saving the environment, no papers being wasted, as well as you have a little more freedom in terms of the design in a much better lead time. We've gone together and put paperless posts together in 20 minutes, sent it out, and the next day we know who's coming and who's not coming, versus response cards and mailings and all that type of stuff, especially if you're working on a shorter lead time. Setting the mood. I think there are a couple different ways to set the mood, and we're going to talk about them now. But I would say the first way that we love to set the mood is creating the perfect playlist. And I think the perfect playlist is tailored around your party's concept. I like to use the word concept versus theme, just because I think concept is a much more defining word of exactly what you're doing. When you're coming up with setting the mood and the concept, you want to make sure that the playlist that you come up with will last the duration of your event. We've been to parties, and we've unfortunately hosted parties, and this has happened. Halfway through the event, the playlist has run out. And then me as the host are running back in and putting something else on, or we're taking ourselves out of the party. We're taking ourselves out of the party that we've put together and we want to enjoy with all of our friends. So I think coming up with a playlist that is long enough for your party is something that will be much more very beneficial in terms of executing your own event. In our, especially now with iPods and iPads and Sonos and all that, we have multiple playlists of multiple party songs, and from all different levels of casual, jazz to upbeat, Lady Gaga and Meghan Trainor. So coming up with something really different and really fun, I think, is a great way to keep people entertained, but also keeping the background. Let's see, next one. We talked about that. I like to incorporate some of my favorite artists, things that we're listening to when something comes on the radio in the car, or in my office something comes on Pandora, coming up with something that we really love to listen to and something that would fit this style of the event that you're hosting. Again, a corporate party, weddings might be a little different just because, the bands and DJs, whatnot. But dinner parties are where we really focus on something like this. We want to make sure that the music that we're playing and we've selected is appropriate for the crowd. It's not going to put people asleep, but it's also not going to be so intrusive where people can't have conversations around the music that you're selecting. Two of my favorites, not that anyone cares, but Susanna McCorkle and Billie Holiday, great background, great for an event, cocktails type of style. Yes, we love using that company as well as Pandora. There are different companies that are out there that you can really really work with in terms of your party. And for something like that, you don't have to worry about it running out, which I think is great. Especially with Pandora, with the paid subscription, which is a very nominal fee, it doesn't say, "Are you still listening?" So But I was saying, Susanna McCorkle Most Requested Songs, I think is one of my go-to party favorites for a casual dinner at home. It's kind of fun background music. Um, Remember not to crank up the volume unless it's the end of the night and a lot of wine has been had and you're turning your casual dinner party into a dance party in the living room. You know, you want to be able to have that option of changing the music to move forward with something like that, but at the same time, really reading your guests. If everyone's having a great time and everyone's having conversations and everyone's in little nooks and talking, you know, keep the volume kind of where it is and keep the music where it is. If people are starting to get antsy or people are gathering in large groups, and it's, you know, change the music, put something up on that's a little more upbeat or a little more dance worthy. But it really depends on the guests and the party. Okay. We have setting the perfect ambiance. And one of my biggest pet peeves is in anything. If I go to the dentist office, if I go to a restaurant, is lighting. The only time that there should be a light shining in my face is when I'm in the dentist chair. And I think incorporating lighting in any event is probably one of the biggest atmosphere setters I think that everyone's able to do. And it's something that everyone has in their house. Everyone has lamps, everyone has candles and votives, and really incorporating all of that when you're planning your event. I think that, let me see what I think, hold on. This isn't something that has to be difficult. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be classic, whimsical, traditional, whatever it would be. Incorporate some of this into your concept or your theme that you're planning for your event. If you're going with a beach theme, you know, use candles and sand and shells. If you're using, you know, a holiday theme or a Halloween theme, you know, pumpkins and orbs and things like that. So there are a lot of different options of what you can do in terms of setting the mood in terms of the candles. Stay away from overhead lighting, if at all possible, unless it's dimmable. And I think for $29 at Marine Home Center, you can buy a little dimmer. And setting that above lighting, either to off or to a very low level, I think will really set the mood for your party. And again, that will take place if you're getting married in a venue, having an event in a venue, fundraiser, whatever it might be, or even in your home. Setting the mood and setting the lighting, I think it really goes a long way with people. People, I think this is a proven fact, people tend to have a better time in better lighting. Let's see, okay. This is something I also think is very important. When you're hosting a party and everything is perfect in your house, all the lighting is perfect, the candles are lit, the house smells wonderful, there's flowers everywhere, and people drive up to your house and it's pitch black. And there's one little light on in your foyer or on your front steps. I want to make the outside of the house just as visually pleasing as the inside of the house. And I'm not saying, you know, spend $1 million and put all new lighting out front, but it's a great way to add fun lanterns. You know, depending upon what's going on with the season, you know, fall, we like to do pumpkins, we like to do lanterns. We've even done little, which is funny, was a long walkway, little bags, sand on the bottom of them, and little luminaries, which really lights the pathway, lights the entrance for your guests to arrive into the house. And that, again, is setting the stage of what they're going to expect when they get into the house. And again, keeping the driveway lit, making sure if there's snow on the ground, hopefully not anymore, but making sure that everything is shoveled and it's ready for all your guests to arrive. I keep thinking you're going to ask a question. Okay, great area. Like I said, we were talked about, you know, placing fun few lanterns out there, making sure that you have something fun on the door, holiday specific, you know, it could be holidays with a wreath, or it could be pumpkins, or whatever it might be. Just something to really denote kind of where they're going and know that this is where the party is happening tonight. I always love to greet our guests at the front door when they arrive. I think that I just think it's right. I don't know why. I think that when someone enters, You're greeting them, you're welcoming them, you're taking their jacket. I love to offer them some bubbles or something right when they get there, just so they can get the party started and start mingling. People always say, I know the party starts at 6, but I should get there. I don't want to be the first guest. I don't want to be there too late, but I don't want to be there too early. And for me, I always like when when the party starts at 6. For me, I'm usually there at 6 o'clock. I like because the host or the hostess planning the party has put all this time, all this energy, and all this effort into the event. They had 6 o'clock for a reason. I think that when you're planning an event and with the guest count and in the guest timing is something that you really want to take in consideration. We've been to parties and friends of ours host parties where it's, oh wow, you're early. I'm like, well, it's 6 o'clock. You said party is starting at 6. It's because they're not ready. So it's one of those things where, and we'll talk about this, but making sure that you're really prepared and you're prepared an hour before the guests arrive so you can enjoy a glass of bubbles, you can have time to freshen up and get dressed and just relax for a little bit. Any questions so far on this lighting? For events that we do, and it's just a little different for a corporate event or a wedding, we like to offer a self-serve bar at our home where we set out a really fun bar display, and that can be indicative to what the concept of your event is going to be, the dinner party. If it's a themed event, if it's just a classic dinner party, put a couple of great bottles of wine out and really mix up just the style of service. Everyone likes to go out and have a good time and drink some wine and champagne and vodka, soda, water, juices, whatever it might be. I think people really enjoy being their own mixologist for something like this. It brings people together. Oh, what are you drinking? Oh, I'm drinking this. Oh, I'm drinking that. Oh, how'd you make that? Okay, let me show you. So it's this fun, it's a little different. And everyone knows how they like their own drink prepared. We've been to different places and restaurants, and it's like, oh, this is too strong, this is too weak, this is not what I was looking for. So I love to set up a bar in a really fun tray. It could be a really fun side table. It doesn't necessarily have to be on your kitchen island, or it doesn't have to be necessarily in a bar itself. We incorporate the bar in our house in different locations depending upon what's going on for the overall event. We've in the past had our makeshift bar on our countertop. We've had it on our coffee table. We've had it in different locations where we want the event to showcase. We want to make sure everyone has enough place to mingle, enough space to mingle, but also everything is accessible for everyone. And including on handsome trays, also nice. One of the biggest things that people forget all the time is when you're getting a drink at home, whether soda, water, juice, wine, liquor, ice. Everyone can go to the refrigerator and get 6 cups of ice and it's not a problem. When you're having 20 or 30 people over, you want to make sure that you have enough ice for the party. And that's actually something that a lot of people don't think about when they're hosting a party, is all the ice consumption of what people are using. And take in consideration of what the theme of the party is. If you are hosting a beach party and it's a margarita theme, you obviously can go through a lot more ice than you would if it's a wine party. So take it into consideration in just knowing that it's something that happens to a lot of people. They always run out of ice. And it's something that people don't want to run to the store for. In the middle of your party, I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some ice. Something that I like to do when hosting a party, and this can actually be done at fundraisers as well as social events, weddings, and events like that. I like to take the bottle of wine or the bottle of bubbles or whatever it might be and walk around to my guests, especially if we're working with a larger group of people like a nonprofit, or even 15, 20 people in your home. You might not have got the chance to talk to every single person, but this gives you a great opportunity to walk around, talk to people, and engage people in conversation just by pouring them a new glass of wine and some bubbles, whatever it might be. Any questions so far? I like to, and I think a lot of people like this, When people arrive, we're greeting them at the door like we had talked about. They're walking up this beautiful walkway, and they're coming to this house. The music is wonderful, and me as the host or you as the host greet your guest. The first thing, we take their jacket. We always like to have a tray of champagne in our foyer when people are arriving. So we take their jacket, we give them a glass of champagne if they like, and they basically can get the party started right there. They're going into the party with a glass of something already. And it can be sparkling water, it can be whatever. But I know when I go to a party and we walk into someone's house, I'm like, oh, how are you? I haven't seen you forever. And before you know it, it's been half an hour, 45 minutes, because I'm talking and saying hello to everybody, and I haven't made it to the bar yet. Not that the bar is that important, but you know. I would say for any event, flowers of any scale and any size are a must. Something that we really like to do is definitely incorporate the theme of the event around our flower displays and around our food displays, all of that. So there are, for me, being an event designer, event planner, we also do floral design. I like to design my own flower arrangements for the house. And there are a lot of great opportunities on the island of Flowers on Chestnut, Stop and Shop. There's different places where you can buy pre-made flower arrangements, where you can order them, put them right into your table. Or you can buy bouquets of flowers from these different vendors here on the island and then create your own flower arrangements. Something like that, I think, is a perfect way to showcase either food items, bar tables, all of that, as well as it's a conversation piece. Oh, that's a beautiful arrangement. Oh, thank you. I made that earlier today. You know, it's something that I think you take pride in when you're doing it. We just taught a floral class over at the community school last week, and everyone just had a great time because they had the pride of actually putting it together, making the arrangements, conditioning all of the stems, and designing their overall outcome of what they wanted it to look like. Everyone has a glass vase and a cylinder and square cubes for flowers. I'm sure everyone has 20 of them in their cabinets. I like to step outside the box and use something a little different. We've done things where we've done in vintage coffee cans before. We've done things in silver plated teapots. We've done things in big milk crates. I would say whatever the concept of your event is going to be, think outside the box. Still use that glass cylinder or that glass cube, but insert it into whatever container that you're using. I think this will definitely bring depth, color, texture, and a little uniqueness to your event as well. And again, this can be set for a corporate event, it can be for a wedding, it can be for a dinner party at your house. Now, I know a lot of people grow flowers. Some people grow flowers to cut them throughout the season. This is a great way to incorporate your arrangements that you've grown and cultivated throughout the course of the season into your dinner party. I think that doing something like this, and we had just talked about it, but is a conversation starter for people, depending upon what you're looking to basically plan. But I think it's a great conversation starter for people. I like to create 1 to 2 flower arrangements for an event. We've been to parties and we've seen a flower arrangement at every table, and we've seen no flowers and everything in between. So there's no right or wrong answer of how many flowers that someone should have in their house for their event. But I think taking the event into consideration, the number of people, the style of the event. Is it a seated dinner? Is it a buffet style dinner? Is it something that people are just going to have cocktails and walk around with? When we're doing an arrangement, say we're doing a buffet, we like to make some type of focal center point, a centerpiece for that table itself. We like to incorporate colors and textures and really incorporate what the menu is entailing to what the platters and serving pieces, all of that's going to be. So make sure that's all one cohesive piece when you're planning your flower arrangements. Keeping fresh flowers in the in your foyer of your home, I think is something warm and welcoming. It's a nice start when people open the door and they're there and they see your glistening champagne, your beautiful flower arrangement, and you welcoming them with open arms. It's just a nice touch. Absolutely, I think that's a great idea. I think hosting something in there, and it could be a potted orchid, it could be a fresh flower arrangement, whatever it is, I think incorporating something in the restroom, I think is a great idea. If you're doing a seated dinner and you're incorporating a place cards and you're incorporating the full setting and you are incorporating flowers onto your table, which I would recommend, is making sure that you're keeping your flower arrangements low. And this happens in events and as well as home dinners. When you get to a big arrangement, and so you have a round dinner table or a rectangle dinner table, and it's too tall, people can't see the people across them. So it's very hard to have a conversation with somebody that you're sitting with at dinner for something like that. So keeping them low, and a trick I would always say is from here to here. If your flower arrangement is no taller than this, you can see right over it. And incorporate different textures and different levels. If you're doing, say you're using coffee cans in different sizes, making sure that if you're scaping the table, it's all textured, all levels. Incorporating candles, you're incorporating whatever you want to showcase and incorporate, just making sure that it has a real texture to it. It's not just one flat level. And I think this will give a lot of interest to the event itself. Let's see. Okay, so we talked about giving flowers can give a lot of ambiance to your event, as well as the container that you're using. If it's silver, whatever it might be, incorporating a lot of candles into the table will really give a lot of glistening and a lot of texture and a lot of movement to the base of the table, where sometimes it could be a little stale. Any questions on flowers so far? I know that. This is something that I feel very strongly about. It's a salad. And my house guests sometimes make fun of me for it. But I think a salad, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, should be in a big bowl. A big bowl. I don't care what type of salad it is, it should be in a big bowl. I think the bowl should make the statement on your buffet table if you're doing a big buffet dinner. I think that the bowl should be basically the picture frame of what salad that you're creating. I think that, I can feel very strongly about this, as you can all tell. I think there's nothing worse when you're mixing the salad and all of a sudden there's lettuce all over your table. It's ruining your display, it's ruining your table design. This way, it's a great presentation, it's fun, it's different, you can always change it. I think Donald's always making fun of me because I have about 30 salad bowls at home. But it's different. We're keeping it interesting, especially if you entertain a lot. Changing that up and changing the way you're displaying something and changing the way that you're presenting something really creates a different type of atmosphere for all of your events. Okay, well, we saw that. The bigger the better. And like I said, this really should be a statement piece. And whenever we have dinner at one of our friends' house, often, and she has this beautiful wooden bowl. There could be 4 of us for dinner. It's in this bowl. But it's different, it's unique, and it's fun. And it's something that I think it's a conversation piece as well. When you're entertaining, you want multiple conversation pieces. Just, if you're, like I said, you're inviting people that might not know each other, this is a good way to talk about a salad bowl. So I can talk about a salad bowl for about 6 minutes. Making a salad and making any type of food for your event, whether it be something in your home or if you're working with a caterer and working with a nonprofit or a wedding. Making it simple and easy. You're hosting a dinner party, you're having people come to your house tonight, and you want to be able to enjoy anything and everything that's going on. Of course, you'll have to do some work through the course of the party, but as much prep as you can get done in advance, the much better time that you'll have and the more time you'll be able to spend with your guests. Getting back to the salad. Something that we like to do, and a salad does take some time to prepare. Earlier in the day, we cut all of our toppings. all the toppings for our salad, whatever it's going to be. We put them in a Rubbermaid container, whatever, Pyrex container, put them in the refrigerator. The night of that night, we take our big salad bowl out, we dump all of our fresh mixed greens into it, we take the Rubbermaid container and put all the toppings right on top of it. This gives you a beautiful, well-designed, very textured, very colored salad. I always like to offer, and this is 2 or 3 different types of homemade dressings when we're entertaining at home. Something a little different, something light, something creamy. Okay. When we are working with a buffet and coming up with a menu, I always like to go to the 3-to-1 rule. So, or 2-to-1 rule, I should say. You're coming up with 3 entree items. 2 of them can be served room temperature, can be cooked early in the day, can be just warmed up. The third, or the last one, would be you're actually cooking at the event. So you're still entertaining and you're still mixing and mingling with everybody, and most of your entrees and your side dishes are already done. It's basically just heating up and setting everything out. We always like to do a dry run when we do a buffet as well at our home, and I'm always changing platters and containers and bowls and all that type of stuff. So setting our buffet table, whatever it's going to be, with different size platters and different size containers and whatever we're using in different levels and different textures, and I sticky note them. This is going to be for the beef. This is going to be for the vegetables, which makes my job easier the morning of the dinner party. There's less running around. There's more time to enjoy the morning of getting ready, because I don't know about everyone, but I enjoy hosting a dinner party. I think it's fun and it's different, getting to meet new people or getting to know people even more. So I want to be able to make sure it's a fun process, not a stressful process. Any questions so far? Okay. Let's see. When we're doing our buffet tables, and it can be a corporate, social, whatever it's going to be, we always like to label and come up with some really fun signs for our food stations. We have different options. We've done really fun little chalkboards. We've done shells. Depending on what the theme is and the concept of your event is coming up with something really fun and really different. This gives your guest an advance of what they're eating. It's, people know what steak, it's a steak, but it's steak with blah, 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 whatever it's going to be. When we're setting the buffet table, I like to stack plates in different levels. So you're not necessarily grabbing a plate and walking down like you're in a school lunch cafeteria. You have plates in different levels. You have plates in different areas. So you don't want a line to form. You don't want any of that. So this way, you grab a plate. Oh, I'm going to grab some potato, or I'm going to grab some vegetable, whatever it's going to be. And I also like to offer different size plates, depending upon what the menu would be. For me, I'm more of like to go out and get a small plate and then go back in a little while and get something else, versus setting up, a 10-inch dinner plate. This way, it keeps it a little more interesting. It keeps the I don't say the line moving, but it alleviates that whole line process. And I think it makes it much more an elegant dinner and a much better process. For something less formal, I love to, in our cloth napkins, roll up silverware, whatever silverware that they're going to need, knife, fork, whatever it might be, so they can grab their plate and grab their food and then just grab their silverware that's already pre-rolled and go from there. As well as, again, concept theme, displaying forks, knives in different locations in a fun canister or mason jar glass, whatever it might be. But just making it fun and interesting and different again, so people don't have to look all over to get a fork. There's different options for something like that. And large counters, we do dining room tables, always great for something like this. Like we talked about the signs. When we're creating our buffets and our food stations, I like to come up with, we talked about different starches and different vegetables, but coming up with a lot of lighter options as well. Sometimes going to a dinner party, it's all heavy this and heavy that. This way, if somebody wants to go grab something like a couscous or rice or whatever it might be, there's options for a lot of different people. Okay, so we're actually wrapping up this portion. So now this is the time where your guests are coming at 7 o'clock. It is 5:45. You have an hour and 15 minutes before I arrive. And at this point, everything should be done. You should be able to change, shower, freshen up, enjoy a glass of bubbles, and just relax and wait for your guests to arrive. This really should be a really fun portion for you. Making sure that the candles are lit and everything is ready to go, but just again, enjoy. So, cheers. I'm here. Ding dong. Thank you. Any questions for anyone? Yes. Absolutely. I'll send you paperless post. A book? That book? Oh, no, not yet. Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Do you have any suggestions for if you're at either a fundraiser or like a business launch, giving a speech at a party?
Yes. When we do a lot of, like I said, nonprofit and corporate and fundraising events, and we always tell our clients that we're working with when we're creating the timeline or the run of the event is making sure that people arrive, people have time to mingle, people have time to get a cocktail in their hand or a beverage in their hand, enjoy some food, and then go with the conversation or the speech or the toast. I feel sometimes going into something like this, organizations are very apt to talk right away. I think people need to get that warm, welcome feeling. They want to get to talk to people they might have seen in a while, and then learn about the organization. I also think that it's much more well received when people have some time to relax, enjoy a beverage, and then go from there. You're welcome.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, relative to what you were just talking about, speaking, is not to go too long. I've been to many, many events like this where, it can be a half hour or something that people are losing interest in or whatever. Especially if you have a nice dinner or luncheon or something and then you have a speaker, you got to keep it within the genre of the event.
Absolutely. I think there are two types of speaking engagements. One is a presentation, which would be this, and then one would be a speech. When you're at a speech in an event and you're talking about an organization or you're talking about a new business, 10, 12 minutes, I think that is the time you have for people to talk in terms of before you start losing people for something like that. If it's a presentation and people are coming in to learn about whatever the product might be, then that's different. But I think going to a cocktail party or a launch party, keeping it to that 10 or 12 minutes, I think is a good number, especially if people have a cocktail in their hand or a beverage or whatever it might be. And I guess it all depends on the topic too.
I have two questions. The first is, as a host, what do you appreciate getting as a gift from your guests beyond wine and flowers?
That's a great question. And I actually have a list of things that we're doing a blog post. We're actually doing a blog. We're actually doing a blog post about this next week about what the perfect hostess or hostess is going to be. For me, I think a bottle of champagne, I think is great. A bottle of wine, something that we can enjoy at a later time. When we invite our guests to a dinner party, I just want them to bring them. I don't feel that they have to bring anything. I will say sometimes, and I work with flowers a lot, I'm greeting people at the door, and someone comes in, they give me a bunch of flowers. I have to go find a vase, run to the kitchen, find that, you know what I mean? So I think a bottle of wine, candles are always a great, One Kings Lane has some pretty amazing hostess gift candles. Little notebook, something that's kind of fun and unique that I think, especially if you know the person and you can tailor it to what their likes are, what their kind of maybe what they're doing for work, whatever it might be, but something that that might fit into their home.
Okay, my second question is, you're at a dinner party, you've had a great time, but you're ready to go. And you don't want to leave the table without disrupting the whole flow of the evening. But you have the sense that maybe other people are ready to go too. So how do you get out of there gracefully?
I know, right? That is a tricky question because no one wants to be the first person to leave a party. So I think what I would do in which we've done in that situation, is I just blame it on my spouse. I would, it's something like that where once the opportunity and the conversation breaks, I think you just need to go for it. Thank you so much. This has been so great. Getting up and going to do something as well, going to the restroom, going to whatever it might be. Once you're up from the table, it's a lot easier to leave when you're standing than it is just talking to people I'm leaving and I'm sitting down still. And I think if you're feeling that way, I'm sure other people are feeling that way as well.
We are getting
Oh.
close to 1, so we want to do our magical raffle, and then we can maybe do 1 or 2 more questions.
Oh, yeah. So did everyone get a ticket? I think a red ticket?
Blue tickets.
Oh, blue ticket, sorry.
And what are we raffling for today?
So this raffle today will be a flower arrangement designed by our company and delivered to you at your home here on Nantucket. And we would have, whoever the winner is, we'll have a brief phone conversation. You'll let me know colors that you're looking for, that you want to incorporate into, you want us to incorporate into the flower arrangement, and we will deliver the flower arrangement to your house. It can be either a tall flower arrangement or a low flower arrangement. We can talk about that, whoever wins. We have a couple different options. We can deliver it next Saturday, which would be the 4th of April, actually, 4th of April. If that doesn't work for you because you're going off island or whatnot, we can work out another time throughout the course of the season here on the island. If you're having a dinner party, daffodil weekend, whatever you want. I just need a little notice and we can talk about that. Okay.
Drum roll.
Want to pick?
All right, we got 926662. A lot of disappointed faces. Any winners? Harvey.
All right. Perfect.
Make sure I read that right. Oh. Wow, thank you very much.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you, in general, what's the size of your organization and how do you motivate your key people to come through with the details that you like to have?
I'm very open and honest with all of my team. And I think setting our expectation, because my expectation is one thing, but you as a client is a different expectation. We always set all of our expectations of our clients, of all of our staff, everything to the highest level, and we only work with the people that will hit and surpass that level. I think with our team, it's a really fun work environment. We're planning parties for a living. We're making flower arrangements for a living. So it's fun and it's different. I think that having fun on the job is key for what we do, but also really knowing what their tasks are, what needs to get done, and when it needs to get done. But getting there and having a good time doing it. So that's kind of how we work that way.
All right, we got 1 more right here.
You don't mind answering one more question?
No, of course not.
I'm sorry.
No, of course not.
Since it's a nonprofit, everything's money, and someone approached me and said, why don't you have your event at my place, a commercial place? And no amount of money was talked about or anything like that. How about if I went back to them and said, okay, how about if during the event, perhaps I'm able to spend an hour, not me personally, an hour is taken while the mingle and everything is going on to kind of show their wares or whatever on a screen as part of the payment. Or I guess I'm getting too detailed. How do you go through trying to negotiate a set amount or even try to get it for free from the person that wants to give you their housing for the event?
Okay, so say, just for example, say that an artist gallery calls us and say, we would love to work with you and showcase your nonprofit.
Right.
We'd love to donate the gallery for the evening.
Right.
where you can invite up to X amount of guests, food and wine and beverage, whatever it might be, have people in the space. I don't necessarily think that doing a presentation in that gallery for that gallery is necessary,
Okay.
because I mean their presentation is around you. It's
Right.
all the painting, is all that. Of course, I'm just using a gallery for an example. The gallery owner can make a speech or toast or something like that, and just making sure that everyone knows who he is. It's his gallery, her gallery, whatever it might be, and then to talk to that person if they're interested in some painting or whatever the object might be.
So if it weren't a gallery, but it was a place, maybe it's on its own, it is actually doing the advertisement for them.
Exactly.
So I don't have to feel pressured that okay.
I don't, because I think people are going to learn about the organization. They're not going to learn about the art. I'm just saying that. But the art is already there. So the art becomes the decor, which you're incorporating into the event. Okay. You welcome.
Great. Thank you so much, David, and thank
Great.
you
Well,
all
thank
for
you everyone
coming.
for coming. Thank you.